Thanks for checking out the latest real conversation from Oh My Talking Head, a production of Oh No He Did Entertainment under the auspices of Cottrell Jones Multimedia. Respectively and respectfully, you can find us most everywhere online at Oh My Talking Head. That's OhMyTalkingHead at Oh No He Did OKNOWHEDIDENT and at Cottrell Jones COTTRELLJONESMM. All of these are highly Googleable, I assure you. So please look us up, hook us up with a like, share, and follow. Bonebreaker Studios. I'm in here, you're out there. Come on in. Let's get into a real conversation, shall we? And with whom am I speaking?
Hey, what's up? It's the one and only DJ Yogi.
Absolutely. I want to give you your proper intros. This is Mr. Mighty representing the lineage from Haiti. That's how we said it in Spanish class. I hope I'm saying that right. The show producer, the show improver, the Emmy Award trophy winning Clark Atlanta alum. Think you can do better? Come and get some. Oh, and by the way, he's a DJ, a veteran in the game with 20 years experience. He can talk that talk, sure, but he's humble. But dude, on the wheels, he has hands. Dude's got hands, and they are not humble. High caliber mix master, but not so high and mighty that he won't salute a fellow DJ or dap up a fan, which is why I'm honored that he accepted the call to join the Ojo's Music Fest fam. Respect this man like a shake with the right hand and prepare yourselves for a real conversation with the one and the only one that you need. DJ Yogi, y'all. Sir Yogi, welcome.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Do you approve of the introduction?
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Okay, all right. I see what I'm saying. I know that you had a high standard because you're doing
Oh,
national TV.
please.
Well, see, this is
Yeah. It's all good, man. Appreciate that.
absolutely, man. I mean, it's flowers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or if you don't like flowers, is sandwiches. Whatever you like, I'm giving them.
Hmm.
Well deserved. Now, food references aside and included, I want to kind of approach this conversation like a meal. You start with some sweets and snacks, and just get into it from there. Go through all of the courses and whatever. Now, I want to say, you know, with the epitome of black don't crack, you're the epitome of that. I
Oh,
remember
boy.
you and Gerald on that show. Y'all talking about running games of 21 and running marathons and stuff that'll run you down and crack your kneecaps over the years. But you're doing it like age ain't nothing but a number, and that number is not moving. So a simple question to get us started for some haters who can't do it, or from some people who admire and maybe want to draw wisdom from you. How? Like how are you still doing it? How do you do it? And what's your key to wellness? What kind of wisdom can you impart on that?
Oh, you just gotta keep moving, man. Like as much as possible, especially in this day and age with all this like uh sedentary lifestyle, man. So it's really more like just try to move as much as possible, man. My 9 to 5, I sit down and I edit all day. So I have some days where I can sit in the chair for 12 to 15 hours just staring at a screen. So um yeah, man, I just try to force myself. Gerald's even better than I am. I mean, because I don't run as many races as I used to, um, but like I have a dog now, so I try to since I work from home. That's changed since 2020. So every morning, me and my dog, we go take a walk. We go try to get 2 miles in every morning, and then in the evening, get as much as we can, especially when it's starting to warm up. So I don't know how much I can get in when it starts warming up with him, but um, but yeah, man, it's just it helps. It helps with your mind. Obviously, it helps with your body, and then I just try to do as much as I can, just to kind of yeah. It just you just need it. You just need it. Especially you get on the scale, and you're like, damn. You start feeling a certain way. You're like, oh man. So Yeah, but with the sitting down, definitely that's really more than anything because you start feeling it in all parts of your body when you sit down for too much.
Keep it moving, I think, is just good advice in general. I think that's like probably a saying of that we haven't turned into a mantra, but
Right.
what you're saying is like you living out the, instead of being on the block like, hey yo man, keep it moving. You're literally telling yourself and others that perhaps a key to wellness is simply keep it moving or keep yourself moving.
Oh yeah, it's totally that, man. Because there's this lady that I like listening to. Uh, she's like a sex doctor or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it's like her name's Dr. Rachel on Instagram. She always like she'll give little pointers about sex tips or whatever. But
Uh-huh.
one of the things that that was one of her things she talked about recently was like talking about moving, like, and she was talking about like how Japanese medicine, not just like some Japanese people who do Tai Chi and stuff like that.
Right.
And she's like studies have shown that them doing all those arm circles and movements and stuff like that. And it's not even like resistance training, but just the fact that they're doing that they're toning their muscles out, even just from those doing those movements. If you just consistently keep moving your body, like the
Huh.
muscles will start to tone and like weight loss will happen. It's not just going to the gym and slamming up a bunch of weights as you start to as what I'm starting to learn. It's not just like going to the gym and lifting all you could do. As long as you keep moving your body, keeping your body engaged, your body will respond. And obviously diet's important as well, but like your body will respond and will start to adapt to whatever you're doing. So if you sit a lot, your body's gonna adapt to that. So if you move, your body's gonna adapt. So
Huh.
that's kind of yeah. So if you try to move, even if it's she was like arm circles and she's like, yeah, the silliest things that you wouldn't even think would work. And she was like, yeah, it works. Like you doing arm circles and you've seen Tai Chi, all those movements that they do, all
Absolutely.
those like round circular movements that they do. And yeah, it
Man.
works. And by the way, that's actually a fighting style too. So
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
that's what I'm
legitimately
saying.
a
I
fighting
think
style.
that's when I first encountered it back when I was in school over in Tuscaloosa, and I would see a guy he was a black belt in karate, but
Yeah.
he'd be out every morning like right at the break of dawn. You'd think it was B-roll from an 80s, what, the Karate Kid or something like that. He'd be
Yeah.
out in front of the dorms just doing those movements,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, so when do you speed it up? Because you got to be like maybe practicing for some kind of confrontation. He was like, no, this is Tai Chi. This isn't Taekwondo or anything. It's
Yeah.
just movement. Is rhythms. It's feeling. It's like meditation in motion for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it totally is. It totally
Yeah,
is.
and I
I've done it a little bit, like nothing like serious. Like I took kung fu back in my early, like in my mid 20s, and I remember
oh
we had a my instructor. They had like an open like dojo. I forgot what they call. What do they call our? It's not dojo, but like an open gym day where he brought in different schools and he brought in different styles and he brought in these two guys that they were Tai Chi masters and they were fighting doing Tai Chi. And he was like, yeah, this is that one movement that you see where they like, like when you hold the ball and you kind of do like that circular movement or whatever.
right.
And he's like, but really it's more of it's a deflection. Like when you put it in a fight, it's a deflection move kind of thing. I was like, oh snap. This it's dope. It's dope. It's dope.
Well, folks, now you see the evidence. Like, well, when you have somebody who lives a lifestyle, and you say, well, how do you do it? And then they say, this is how.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
conversation. Real conversation. I appreciate it here. I want to get into career um, with you here, kind of how you got started with your movement that we're going to call the coming of DJ Yogi here. Um, how did you get your start um, into where you are? I mean, just kind of speak on what made you first step to the tables and just start DJing. I mean, it takes work. I don't believe that what you do, you just start doing like like cutting rows of grass, but Talk about
Oh
mixing.
no.
How'd you get into this?
um, my cousin used to DJ back in Miami, and so he and a lot, and then my brother used to rap and produce, and then my other two of my cousin and my other cousin used to rap as well. So it was always around me when I was young. I always liked the DJ, and I danced as a kid. I was like up rocking b-boy type stuff. No break dancing though. Just rocking like Scoop and Scrap from Big Daddy Kane, stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
So I did a lot of that when I was like younger, and MC Hammer stuff too. Because I thought MC Hammer was the bomb when I was a kid. But um, I'm trying to give you the short and sweet. So like, yeah, I want to learn how to DJ, and I just had to learn. I had to watch because I was kind of too young, and I think my cousin was afraid to let me touch the gear because I was his moneymaker. So I had to just watch, and I had to listen. I listened and watched a lot. I used to watch him DJ, listen to him DJ, and then since he was older, he would go to New York a lot, and a lot of other people would go to New York, and tapes would come down. And then in Miami, I grew up in Miami, so Miami's kind of like a baby New York. A lot of Northerners moved down there, and so different. So your tapes are coming into the city. So I would hear, and there's plus there's a lot of dope DJs in Miami too. So I can't front on that as well.
Mm.
So I would listen to a lot of tapes, and we used to work at this job at this Foot Locker, and me and my boy Ray, we would just sit there and just break down mixtapes and just listen to them and break them down, figure out what they were doing. Obviously, this is pre-internet, so you're just listening to the tapes and rewinding it, listening to tapes, rewinding it, just listening. And I'm talking about like you listen to like Kid Capri. Um, granted, like I don't know half the songs because we grew up. I know my cousin DJ'd, but there's still a lot of music that when you listen to on these tapes, like you just don't know. Like, and so some of it you find out, some of it you have to ask, and some of it you're just trying to figure it out. That was what was so dope about it. It's just trying to figure out all these songs. Um, and eventually, I got enough money. I worked at Winn-Dixie, this local grocery store down there, and
Mm.
saved up enough money to buy some tables, and then just try to copy what I heard on these tapes. And I knew a couple DJs that I knew that would show me little things here and there. There's a DJ Cool One who's one half of Cool and Dre. Um,
Oh,
he was somebody I went to junior high school with, so he would give me a few little pointers coming up, and then there was a guy named Bert. Um, I can never remember the rap group, but he was like the for some reason he was like the second group of this rap group that was like underground rap group in Miami. And but the long story was that he knew DJ Spin from Luke from Two Live Crew. DJ
oh,
Spin
okay, okay.
and so and he was like, "Yo, you really want to DJ, Yogi?" I was like, "Yeah, I really want to DJ." He's like, "I'm gonna introduce you to Spin," and I met him, and Spin was like, he gave me one day. He's like, "Yo, drive up." He lived like way north of my mom's house. Took the bus up there, and he literally like showed me like some of the cuts, like my right hand cut that I like I'm best with, like my chirp scratch.
Okay.
He's the one that was like, "All right, I'm gonna show you this, and like I'm gonna leave you in here." And he went in it's noisy, so he left. He went and he just went into the living room with his mom, and then they ate dinner. And I'm in there just trying to figure out how to do this cut.
Wow.
And then like he gave me that one day, but I'll tell you that like that one day like was like it stuck. And so then eventually, when I got my gear, it was literally like come home from school and try to figure it out. And then I also DJ with my neighbor across the street, my homeboy Tyrone. We called him Typhoon. And so we were I'm trying to think of the sound that we called it. All that so Unity sound, I think it was. No, we were Unity Tribe as a dance group. I think we were called New Style as DJs or whatever. And we started like doing gigs. Probably not long after I got the gear, we started doing gigs. So I played all the hip hop, he played all the reggae. And and we just started doing parties. And this is like 93, 94, 95. We just started doing parties and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of it. Um, I'll tell you the tail end of that. The thing that I liked the most, because I listened to all those tapes, was the radio side. Like I've always of all like I like the party stuff. I like rocking parties, but I've always had this thing about radio that I loved. In Miami, I don't know if you know, it's still kind of like that. Has a lot of pirate radio stations,
Huh.
and so I and we had a couple people like a couple of my cousin's friends who had a pirate radio station. So literally when that station opened up, I became one of the DJs on the station. And then, yeah, so and I of all the things in DJing that I like the most, and that's why I'm still on the radio till this day, is playing on radio. Like I just it's something about it I just I've always loved it. Like when I would visit other cities when I was younger, and I'd go to other cities and turn it on. Like usually it was always like around 5 o'clock. You could hear the whatever the mix show DJ's doing in that city, or you catch them in their morning show. And I used to always love hearing whatever that DJ is gonna rock. It just because I want to see what they can get away with in their city, or like I just want to hear how nasty they are, or like how dope they're gonna do certain things, and just like still part of that listening process. I want to learn. I wanted to learn like, how did he do this, or like what are they doing, like, and so yeah. So that's so ended up on the radio. The name of the station in Miami was called Flavor 919, and then it turned into Mix 96. Which eventually is the station that DJ Khaled came from as well.
Huh.
So the summer that I left, Khaled literally comes in. I literally saw him like it's the day, my last day at the station. I'm walking out, Khaled's walking in with a beat machine and like a crate of records, and I'm like, "Who's this dude with this crate of records?" And my cousin was like, "Yo, that's Khaled," and I'm like, "Okay," and I remember I would come home every summer and hear him DJ, and I'm just like, he was nasty. Like as a DJ, nasty. Like, so I always like shout to my homeboy Big D, but I would always get on video like Big D. Like he's put in the work. He's not. I know a lot of people kill him for like being kind of cheesy now, but nah, he's put in the work. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of my story, man. Oh, the last little part of it is I a lot of dance I played on because I'm Caribbean, I'm Haitian, um, and you're growing up in Miami, so you got to play the parties hip hop and reggae, so
Right.
you got to be versed in hip hop, reggae, soca, calypso, obviously the banger hip hop records, R&B records, but soca, calypso, compa, hardcore dance hall, like lovers rock type stuff. Like you got to kind of be able to hit all those pockets. So that's like if you ever listen to my sets, that's why like they kind of go all over the place like that, because that's the way we used to DJ back home, and that's still to this day that's a formula I still see that it works for me at least. Like you hit them from all genres, you hit them with all kind of just bangers from every genre kind of style way to play. And when my cousin put me on, when I finally got good, he co-signed for me to get on the sound system. Down this is like the summer before I left to come to Atlanta,
Right.
and he put me on. He got me on the sound system. Uh, I, I think there was the early version of Black Chinese, and and I was just known as DJ, go and play some hip hop. So yeah, so I get up there and I'd rock it, nervous little 18, 19-year-old. I'm up there, huge sound system. This is where I know you remember that. I'm pretty sure they probably did this in Atlanta, but like where people just the more speakers the better. So literally like a whole side of like an event space would just have like 25 speakers piled on top of each other in one, and it was that big dance hall nightclubs. And it's just bumping in there. So I'm playing Biggie and all the bangers of that time. Adina Howard, Freak Like Me. All the records, like all that stuff that was just hitting in the '90s. Yeah,
I
man. Yeah.
I think that especially your penchant for leaning towards radio and keeping it in your life. I've seen DJs as the hood hookup, as ambassadors, as well as party movers, but they're ambassadors of in so much as like the music that they bring into your life. Uh, I probably wouldn't have to tell you that Tuscaloosa, Alabama, was not a hotbed of hip hop. Uh,
Right. Okay.
and
Understand.
so then now Tuskegee, I would have thought a little bit would have filtered through, but back when I was coming up, uh, certainly a few, at least a few years before you. This is when we don't have hip hop radio as a special uh, a programming style, like a format.
Right.
So it was winded into the or worked into R&B formats and for radio stations that chose to do so. And a lot of places it was a fight to get in there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. We had that
and
same problem.
yeah,
But
so
it's,
I mean,
but
and
it's
then not only that though, see the thing is you came from and push a diverse, like it's diversity in what you're doing. Now it's steeped in you because by necessity you're serving several communities.
yeah.
But when other people are listening, they're listening and getting exposed to that type of music because you're repping it and saying, you know what, here I am serving you some stuff that I know that you might not. I don't know if that was your thrust, but that's
Oh,
how.
yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I
Oh,
still program my radio shows kind of the same way. Like my most recent episode because I'm currently I'm on the remix show which is on WRFG
absolutely.
89.3 FM in Atlanta, and so like I've been on that station for a while, and it's a community radio station. They're all about positivity and kind of like being kind of
Absolutely.
culture to the other end of the dial. Like that's the kind of like the mission of that radio station, and so
Yes.
like every show kind of has to have their take on that mission of the station. So like my take is to play records that kind of balance out hip hop. Since like when you listen to the other side of the dial, I got no problem with the other side of the dial because you need that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I'll play like, hey, all right, well, let's say 2 Chainz albums just came out, and but then I'll be like, 2 Chainz got a record with Primo, like
That's right.
just to let you know, like not, and I don't really get into this whole real hip hop, fake hip hop thing. Like
Yeah.
to me, I think it's all hip hop. So
Yeah.
I just like, hey, yeah, 2 Chainz got this, but have you heard 2 Chainz on this mortgage free record? Like he's pretty dope on that. Like,
Absolutely.
and he's spitting, like he's spitting some bars on there too. 2 Chainz also appeared on De La Soul's album, spitting bars. I just try to like kind of show some balance to it, man, just so that it's not all shoot 'em. Like one thing I try to avoid as much as possible is like try to avoid records that like too much shoot 'em up, bang bang,
Right.
too much like just too much sex stuff, like just to show like, yo, like when you hear these records, like people can rap about other things other than
Absolutely.
these particular drugs, obviously, and, killing people, all that stuff. And that's kind of my approach to it. Is like I want to show that, hey, hip hop is not dead. There's actually people who still um, have things to say, and they're still doing it. It's still good new stuff that comes out. Um, yeah, and I kind of like on my recent episode of the remix, I was talking about the Drake and Kendrick
Yeah.
beef,
Yeah.
and like at first I was entertained by it, but then I started to really think about it, and then I heard a few people kind of chime in, and then I'm like, yeah, I think they kind of went a little bit too low below the belt, in that on that in that battle. But I also feel like Questlove, I didn't like the fact that he immediately went to, oh, hip hop is dead. So
Mm.
I really like, I just really kind of, I like Questlove a lot, man, but I really like, he is the quintessential hip hop person to me, in my
Sure.
opinion.
Sure.
And so, like, for him to be like, hip hop is dead, it's just like, dude, like, why are you killing your own genre? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like, hip hop's not dead. How about y'all put out an album?
Mm.
How
Hey,
about that?
you know what'll kill that street that street heat. What'll kill it is a steady job and a good paycheck and a round belly. Because I mean, at the time when you say I'm out here trying to get it, and I'm trying this thing, I'm trying that thing, and I'm repping this, and I stand on it, that's fine. But if you say I need to go to work 6 nights a week to put out this content for NBC, I mean, that's what you got to do, and it's
I
a
don't mind that. I mean, and he's a
oh, I
film guy,
definitely
and
don't mind.
he's all
Yeah,
that, and he
yeah,
yeah, it's all that. It's that's fine, but
yeah.
you're part of hip hop. Don't kill it. Like don't say.
Oh, I
I'm
see
just
what you're
tired
saying.
because there's a
Yeah,
lot of not just him. There's a lot of people who have some power, and they'll just they say these things, these sweeping things sometimes. And
yeah,
I don't want to turn this into a thing about Questlove now, but
sure.
like it's our culture. Like it's all part of the culture. The culture's always been weird. Like there's dope stuff about the culture. There's a lot of stuff where you're like I wish this was better. But I'm like, we're all part of it. But to be like, you're part of this culture, and then you'd be like, it's dead. And you're like, no, it's not dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
Well, it's a
it's just kind of
cacophony.
it's kind of a tired angle. Like I said, like it's not dead. How about you and the Roots get in the studio, put out an album? I mean, our Black Thought's been dropping bangers.
Of
Like,
course,
yeah, he's been dropping bangers
of
with
course.
other producers and everything. But I'll take that. Give me that. Like hip hop ain't dead.
Yeah,
So you basically telling me Black Thought stuff is dead? Like,
no, I
like, but I mean, so that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
Like, it's just like you can't say hip hop is dead and Black Thought's still putting out bangers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Run the Jewels are still putting out bangers.
of course.
Like, yeah,
Yogi, I think that what happens is we end up with the cacophony, and we listen to all of the noise, and together, all of those voices ends up being the culture, ends up being hip hop. So
yeah,
as soon as somebody, of the level and stature and ilk of Questlove says that thing, and then you speak in the opposite, then we're in the middle listening to all of it, and we say like, okay, that's the symphony. Everybody's saying it. I think the only time that we're not served is when we end up silencing one type versus the other, and we just hear the same thing. You mentioned one end of the dial. If you're just
right,
sampling at one end of the aisle and you thinking that's hip hop, you really miss out. And that almost was me because, of course, like I grew up in Tuskegee, Alabama, and it wasn't that we didn't have black because it's 99.99999% black
right,
urban areas in Tuskegee, but then I go over to Tuscaloosa, and the mix is a whole lot more gray over in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But the exposure that we got in both places, one, economic, and the other one was more like social and programming choices. But it
right,
was limited hip hop. I wasn't getting much East Coast. The stuff that we would get would be coming from Miami, like bass music, the things that move parties, that move butts at parties. That's
right,
what you're gonna hear. Wasn't getting that KRS-One, but I would get LL Cool J and Run DMC because they were selling, selling, selling. Money Motive. I put that in my record store. It moves. So I was hearing that. I was hearing the upper side of the dial, the
right,
stuff that R&B stations were willing to play. Your Kumo D Go See the Doctor.
right,
Those
right,
things,
right, right,
that stuff was making it through because it was big, big, big comparatively. I wasn't hearing KRS-One.
right,
But when you go to the one benefit of going to a place with a decent communications program, they have a college radio station at a nonprofit university. They don't have a profit motive, a la where Remix is with WRFG. So you don't hear the same music over and over. I always appreciated that you would program a show that was 3 hours, and I don't hear not one song repeated over 3 hours. I need that as a balance. It's
yeah.
okay. There are songs. When Ghetto Boys came out with Mind Playing Tricks on Me,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
me and my brother Carl Bonebreaker Jones, back before he was Bonebreaker Jones, and just Oscar and Carl coming back home to Tuskegee from Tuscaloosa. That's a 2.5 hour drive. We got that tape and put it in and ran it back to
Mm.
back to back to back. for 2.5 hours. I sit alone in a four corner room,
Yeah,
shooting the
yeah,
candles, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't get old because we liked it. So I get it.
Yeah.
Even beyond the commercial, I'm programming because consultants say so. But beyond that, you get on the other side and say, there's so much music out here that I
So
don't
much.
have to repeat. I
I don't,
need, I
and you
need,
don't have to say it's dead. The culture is dead. I mean,
no, no.
yeah, yeah. You don't have to say the culture's not dead. There's so much stuff out. It's just,
But you know what?
yeah. I mean,
You
it's
did
just,
say
you know,
that.
and I get it. Even on the other side of the dial too, that whole thing, you know, and there's some records that just work. Like that, as much as we're like, you know, why do they keep playing these records so much? It's like some of it is like it's ingrained in your head, and some of it just works. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, it's yeah, whatever's in it, it's it's got a little jingle to it. Because sometimes that's all people want to hear. They want to hear something that's like a little silly, goofy record. It's like just because they want to have a few drinks and be silly, like,
Yes.
and that's it. Like, and because especially growing up in Miami, I understand. Like, listen to all the bass records, man. Like, listen to like Wiggle, 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 you know, what's the Hoochie Mama, and I'm trying to think of all these records, man. Whoop, there it is, and like
I tell
uh
you the
12 Days of Christmas.
tense moment in hip hop, or at least in my uh I guess existence in culture. I don't know if you remember. There was a TV show on syndicated, Uptown Comedy Club. It was. I think that's where like Aries Spears was getting his chops. A very young Monique was on there. Like it was the precursor. HBO had a show called Snaps, where people just basically did your mama jokes back and forth for like 30 minutes. That was a segment on that show. So around the time that you get the Lyricist Lounge going on MTV,
Mm-hmm.
Uptown Comedy Club, it was like comedians would come on there, but they would have it was heavy hip hop. It was like mostly music, and then somebody comes on and does a type five set on comedy. Well, on that show, heavy East Coast, they filmed in New York. So
Mm-hmm.
of course it's heavy music. That week's guest was that I remember was Redman and DJ Twins, the two brothers there and stuff. That was
Okay.
that show. But they said next week Uncle Luke is gonna be on here. And I'm going like, hey, yo, what?
What?
Like that was I said, like, how is this? Because I just envisioned Uncle Luke. I grew up on Two Live Crew, hey, who wants food? Say, I grew up
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So and that is gonna be like all kinds of arm folded and frowning and this ain't hip hop. I was like, oh
yeah.
no, like we'll never get into New York. But somebody booked it. So next week he shows up and it's toned down. I thought he was gonna show up with some thickness and some string bikinis and stuff like that.
Uh-huh,
University of Miami gear stuff. No, the
uh-huh.
girls came up in some cut off jogging pants and whatever stuff, but the wiggle is the wiggle. So, they were there with that. They were with the thickness. But
Yeah.
he started to learn something about culture and about people at the base level. And he didn't try to do something like, more East Coastly lyrical. He was like, nah, if I'm going to be damned, I'll be damned for who I am.
Right.
And you just heard, I want to rock, I want to rock, I want to rock.
Yeah.
And by the
Yeah.
time he's doing the shaking and wiggling, there's nobody that's sitting down in the
Oh,
place. And
nobody's sitting down. They got it.
wait
Yeah.
a minute, that same energy you see in with Kid and Play at the house party,
Mm-hmm.
in the movie house party,
Right.
that same energy is, soca. That same energy is what they doing in DC.
Go
Uh,
go.
Go Go is,
Mm-hmm.
is is New Orleans bounce. It's that
Yep.
same. So if
It's that
you can
same energy,
add,
that same just kind of
yes,
uncapped energy, man. It just
yes.
feels good. It just
So
feels
then, if
good.
you go to Nashville, Tennessee, and they're square dancing, are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna fold your arms and say like this ain't a party? Or are you gonna party?
Yeah.
And so then but I can be, and that's why I don't start. I don't try to quell the voice because I find myself being crotchety old man at times as well. So it's like if that voice is in the room and they gruff, 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 just make sure that you have other voices to say, yeah, but consider, and just like it's like you said, it's not dead. Well, it's dead. It's dead. You know what? Go ahead. It's like some
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
some people need to be sad and say that it's dead, but then there also needs to be somebody in there saying, "Well, have you heard this?"
Have
Because
you
to
heard
your
this?
point,
Have you heard that? Yeah.
Touche.
Because
Mhm.
there's like that whole like Southern Soul movement going on, which quietly is going
Oh,
on.
I'm so
With,
glad you. Yeah, one of my
yeah, like King George and all that stuff. There's
that's right.
that whole movement. I mean, it like we adapt, man. Like the black people and the culture adapts. Like is always, and I feel like that Southern Soul movement is kind of like a response to like just the trap, kind of a response to the trap records, like the Southern people who used to listen to probably like Outkast and all that stuff,
Sure,
but they like now they older, they still want to get their groove on, but they don't want
that's
to
right.
dance to some of the stuff that the younger kids are dancing to. But they're like, but we still like these hard beats, but we want the lyrics to sound a little bit more like stuff that's going on in my life. And
The
so
thing
like
about yeah,
so that Southern Soul stuff sounds like like this is what grown people would make, but they still want to shake their ass.
shout out to Fat Daddy. He is somebody who is also a member of the Fest fam.
Uh-huh.
I hope to do a sit down with him soon, but he does Southern Soul.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
apropos that you mentioned that, and of course, the underpinnings of the O Jones Music Fest was hip hop based. It was largely, I would say, it's been inspired by decades, but really what kicked over the rock that made me want to put such a thing together was that show that you DJ, because I mean you are an inspiration. But the when we showed up and Gerald, when we had the anniversary celebration, the last one we did in person back in 2019,
sure,
and I talked about uh who do they have planned to come on. I was asking Gerald, and he says, I tell you what, why don't you send us music all the time, why don't you just program the first hour? And I it still blows me away to have inclusive radio. That's not a thing on the other end of the dial. It's almost like there are sentries that are posted in front of the station to say, we program to the community. You don't get to be a part of this. And that felt like a downer. I do understand that we need gatekeepers, but it really feels like a downer. But I was really actually suspicious in first dealing with RFG because I was like, it's so inclusive. Like, you actually pick up the phone when I call? But when he gave me the green light to do that, and you were there like that first like my brother, Bone Breaker Jones was the first thing out, and when he had the hot mic up there and stuff, I expected that. I expected that if you gave a hot mic, we would do what we do. But when you jumped in there, and to this day, I go back and play the video. It's still there on Facebook, where you said, "Stop! It's the Madonna remix," and you just put that part. I said, "That's a stamp. That stamp is like Yogi is with us." And so then the energy of uh, uh, everybody's welcome. Come on in and do you, and we go big up that. That's that energy there, and that's kind of what inspired. Like I listen to RFG because of that. I listen to other stuff that they do. You know, um, Even some stuff that's not even musical content. So I get that role, like I was saying, that I think DJs are, especially mixtape DJs. You're ambassadors. You're the hood hookup because I wouldn't be able to even buy certain types of music, but I could always record. What you're doing and instantly have it. But also your teachers. For like the different types of music, the different types of energy being more similar than not, the different cultures that kind of meet over the airwaves and stuff. It's all of that. So that's more of your flowers here.
I appreciate.
I wanted to tie off some things about your beginnings. Around what age are we talking when you're just watching and you're too young to touch the tables? How old were
Like
you right then?
let me see, like so when did Tribe like no like around Leaders of the New School time? So this 91. So I was like 14.
Okay, all right. So you're not like
14.
I'm trying to think if you were like 7 or 8 and stuff like that. Like,
Well, I mean, like we were like they threw a lot of house parties
okay,
growing up. So there was always music in the house.
okay.
So like but like when I really started to kind of pay attention was like maybe 90 in the 90s, like
Okay.
around like Kane,
Right.
EPMD, and then like they really like my heyday was like that Electra Records stretch, like so like when Del the Funky Homo Sapien came out, and like
Ooh.
and then Leaders in the New School was like one of my favorite groups growing up when I was a kid, like hip hop groups, and then obviously Stunts Blunts and hip hop was one of my like when the CD players came out.
Right.
My brother bought me a boombox, like a CD player boombox, and that was the first CD I bought. First record I bought was I won two, Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the first, like when I first started getting money, like finding, working at that grocery store. That was the first record. I went to Peaches and I bought that. Actually, I bought it at Specs. And
Okay.
I bought that. Like an old record store. All these places are like defunct now, but yeah, and then so yeah,
So now
I
let
was
me
around that
see.
age, yeah. And as I got to high school, so that's high school age is like 93, so I'm like 17, 16, 16.
Right.
And so like 16, 17 is like when I kind of started doing parties. 15, 16,
Okay.
17 started doing parties. Yeah. And then it was just kind of, you're just trying to figure it out. You're listening to stuff and you just going to Specs. It was like, it was Specs, um, Blue Note was like a jazz record store, but they had a bargain bin crate in the back that had like all hip hop, all these like hip hop records in there, like promo 12 inches. So
Hey,
I would just go there every day, every weekend after my shift at Winn Dixie with all my tips, and I would just go in there, and they always had the promo 12s for like $1 to $3.
that's right.
And so I would just go in there and just be like, I don't know what this is, but I know the record label, or like I don't know what this is. What is this Wu-Tang Clan thing? Like I don't know. But I would just be like, Wu-Tang Clan sounds dope. Sounds like some kung fu stuff. And then I grabbed it, and it was Protect Your Neck. Like it was a lot of stuff like that. Like you just blindly buying records, or like, oh yeah, yeah. Like I heard that. Obviously you know about Tribe, so when the Scenario video dropped, like it was like, oh yeah, like, and they made the cover of the record, the cover of pretty much how they did the graphics in the video. So like as soon as you saw the record, you're like, oh yeah, I gotta buy this. Like
Man,
yeah,
blind
so it's just
record buying was
yeah,
everything. Like you
oh
mentioned those stores like Peaches and whatnot. I
yeah,
don't know those. It was Oz Records over in Tuscaloosa, but they had that same bin, that
yeah,
99 cent bin. You didn't know what you were getting, but a lot of white label stuff.
a lot
I
of white
remember
labels, yeah,
Illegal was on
yeah,
a maxi cassette. And I'm looking at that. I know nothing about these two little kids. They don't look anything like Chris Cross, but then I saw
mm-hmm.
executive producer Eric Sermon.
Eric Sermon, yep,
And I
yeah,
said, why not? And then that's when we find Mr. Malik and Jamal way before Fades of all that stuff. You discovered those gems and they were extra cheap. So
extra cheap, yep,
yeah, so you were like, okay, yeah, I could get the DOC. That's gonna cost me $12, $15. Or I can get a whole bunch of these 99 cent one things. And I mean, push come to shove. I mean, sorry, Planet. But if I don't like it, I could throw it out because it just cost me 99 cents.
yeah,
Not like I could just throw away 99 cents is like that, but still. It was way lower than me investing in a full CD and being disappointed. And it was refreshed every Tuesday. People would just come dump it and see if you liked it.
yeah. See if you
I
like,
would
yeah,
pay
it's
for
a
it if I
lot of
didn't
stuff,
get it.
man.
Yeah. So I get
There's a
you on
lot of
that.
records I found that way. A lot, like back in the day, it was a lot of just hit or miss, and then obviously
That's right.
when something became a hit, like you had to figure out how to find it, because everybody else was buying it, or you had to like, I didn't order stuff much. I didn't order stuff until I got older, but like every once in a while, I get lucky, get a trip to New York, like because I have relatives in New York, so
Right.
I remember when that Jump Around remix came out, the Pete Rock Jump Around remix, and
Oh yeah.
I think it was 92 or 93. And I remember I luckily had a trip to go to New York. And of all the things I wanted to do, like every day, I was like, I just want to go to the record store. I gotta go to the record store. I just want to go to the record store. I gotta go to the record store.
which was probably
You want to go to the
cliche
record
to
store?
them, but it was a big deal to you.
It was a huge like. I get in there and I'm sitting there like humming records to the guys at the front desk. These guys are they can give a damn because they most of them are DJs too, but they're like like who's this dumb kid? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of those that type of energy when you not just the New York record stores, but all the record stores kind of have the I don't know if the guys are high or like they just have a malaise on them. It's just you look back on it, it's kind of funny, and
Either
they're like,
they're
yeah,
high
yeah,
or numb. One of
huh?
the two. Yeah,
What'd you
maybe
say?
they were numb.
Or they're just like, who's this stupid kid? Like he keeps coming in here, like because I don't know the names of nothing. Like I'm like, it goes da 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 da, and it'd be like, what? I'm humming stuff,
We were
and they'd
just
be looking at me like, what are you talking about? Because I didn't know the names of none of the records, man. Like, and I was, trying to figure out you know, like later I got better, like especially like when I moved to Atlanta. Like obviously when you move to Atlanta, a lot of stuff got discovered as well because I mean,
sure.
like a lot of those Dusty Crate compilations came out, so like people were starting to put the samples on vinyl, like the what's that other Ultimate Breaks and Beats, like. So then you
Sure.
started to learn. I was like, oh, that's what that drum beat is, or that's what that that's where that bass line came from, and so that just like moving to Atlanta like just completely opened my musical palette because there's so much music in this city. Um, so like yeah, it's basically was like my master class when I moved to Atlanta because like my DJing got better, like a lot of stuff got better, like my song selections got better. Obviously, the longer you DJ, like anything, you get better. Like you just get better. So
Now that right there, you led me into the next part of the conversation. I was going to move into some more snacks here and some bars, so to speak, because you spit that. The longer that you're doing it, the better that you get. And
right,
your evolution, I'm thinking you're getting into the game early teens, like right around high school, you're matriculating.
right.
And like you probably have when are you actually like scratching? Is that around like 16, 17?
I'm like most DJ, I wanted to learn how to scratch pretty early. So like I learned kind of differently. Like I would play. Yeah, I learned how to DJ backwards. Like I would, I mean, I would drop a lot of stuff on the one and just like boom on the one, and it
Okay.
would be close. I didn't like straight up. Like I did not really learn about BPMs and like I knew the general range of the records overall.
Okay.
Like I
Okay.
knew, but like as I got older, I was like, you know what? Like I need to organize these a little bit better. So, but I would never go like I'm at 88 BPM and the next song is at 100. You know what I'm saying? But like I knew like my crates would be set up. I'd be pretty close. I could be close enough where if it wasn't jarring, but it wasn't a lot of like straight up blends, like clean. I mean, I would hit them every once in a while, but it was a lot of just dropping stuff on the one, and and it worked. And so, but that's because I always wanted to scratch everything in. And I remember I had
Yeah.
one of my homeboys, actually back in Miami, was my homeboy Donald, and he really good about mixing. Like he can mix anything. And he'd always mess with me about that. Shout out to Killer
Well,
Mike,
yeah.
to my homeboy.
Absolutely.
And he would always be like, "Yo," he's like, "You scratch everything in." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You can't mix, can you?" I was like,
Mm. Well, see, that's iron sharpening iron right there.
"Yeah." And I
Because
was
what
just like,
you were doing was probably fine if you were getting booked and you were putting on parties
"Yeah,
and picking up a little change or at least some notoriety. It was
yeah."
fine. But then you
It was
have
fun.
somebody else doing it and saying, you know what, you can't blend, and you
You
go,
can't
oh
blend, yeah.
man,
And a little bit like my blending got better when I had one session with Cool One, and he took me in and we did like a four by what's it 2x4, so two mixers, four turntables, and you're
okay,
mixing together. And it's
oh,
no scratch. He just like come through. We're gonna do one session. That's all I ever was ever allowed to do, and we just went one for one. Like we were just mixing together. It basically sounds like a They don't make people pretty much do that now, or just on a whole other level. But it used to be like 4-track mixtapes back in the day,
Okay.
where it's just a heavily layered mixtape where like just you're changing acapella with the beats, and basically now it's like everybody's just doing it so easily with Serato or like their
Sure.
pre-mix and stuff and everything. But
Sure.
like back then, to hear like Mary J. Blige over Top Billin', and then I switched the Top Billin' beat to the Pass Me By instrumental, and I switched it to something else, all in one mix. Like people used to be like, "Yo, this nigga crazy," like
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. Now it's just like, "Oh yeah, did you hear that? Oh yeah, he cut it up. That's it's a mashup." Like, but back then, if you did it, it was just like, whoa,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So
Then
like
what you call it? Mr. Collie Park, back formerly known as DJ Smurf, when he was
Smurf, yeah,
DJing at Alabama A&M up in
mm-hmm.
Huntsville, Alabama, his mixtape just by the strength made it down in dub copies. Like when we buy the 90-minute max sale tapes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there, and people, one person would dub it, share it with another person,
Yeah,
and you had to worry about sound degradation back then. Everything wasn't digital, so
right,
get a copy of a copy of a copy. Oh
yeah.
man,
That joint is hissing.
it's like but it did not matter because the strength of what
Yeah,
he was doing. To your point, blew my mind. Again,
yep.
another thing that mixtape DJs did. He blended Lottie Dottie, Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh with I want to say You Got to Chill,
Mm.
EPMD, and it's like party people in the house, ooh, ooh, and he's doing that part just a cappella, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, do 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 wang 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 wang,
Yeah,
and he brought those two things together, and you'd have thought he kicked the field goal to win the Super Bowl.
yeah.
When you hear stuff like that,
Yeah, when you hear stuff like that, yeah, it's
those moments,
amazing.
it took a lot to put that together, but the threshold for what made us over the roof was so little, but because someone, and I mean, heck, even before that, pause tapes. Like if you didn't have studio time and you wanted to rap, you go find the instrumental or record pieces of the instrumental off the radio.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
sit there and go from one deck to another until you created your instrumental, and then you put your vocals on top of that. Make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the whole room was quiet because if somebody walked in, you're starting over. And so all of that trouble that it took to bring you the music, like you said, nowadays the technology makes it all possible. So you still get the magic, but the magic of that moment of what DJs used to do, just creating, on the spot there is something that I appreciate and felt that energy,
Yeah.
back then and stuff. So you're telling me pretty much retelling the story of, my younger years, and wouldn't necessarily say teens. I didn't get that until, I mean, I'm in college, so late teens and 20s is
Mm-hmm.
picking that up. But I've noticed in like the research that I kind of did some research. I listened to a couple of other interviews, did a little bit of light reading. I knew your story, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna just take for granted that I know. And I learned, a couple of other things. There are names to like be dropped, and this ain't about them, but I want to just get kind of a blurb from you on it. You went to school with Tech Money, what I'm saying, from MTV,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
back
yeah,
in the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
You're mentioning DJ Spin,
yeah,
Cool and Dre, Cool One and stuff like that.
yeah.
Do you
I
think,
knew both of them, but yeah, yeah, they were good. Yeah, good dudes,
yeah?
man. Good
So
dudes.
then these people are around when you're making your emergence. Do you think that you're making your emergence because they are around, or all of you all have a certain type of energy and you emerge from it? Because I mean,
I
some
mean,
people,
like, I
you
mean,
pour
it.
into you, yeah.
Nah, I mean, like, it wasn't like, no. It's just everybody had their aspirations. I think it's just more than anything. It was
Mm.
what was cool. Um, it was just really cool just to be like at this age now, be like, oh yeah, I knew so and so. Like I didn't even mention like I went to high school with Craze, And so the multi-time world champion. And I
Yeah.
remember like
Okay.
as it being reflective, like looking back, like I remember the days watching him skip class in high school to go home and practice, and then now he's like this big time world champion, and like, and it's just more so not to name drop, but to really more for people, for young people, not to tell them to skip class, but like
No.
you never know like who you're around, and you never know like like hey man, if you just stick with it, you never know how far this thing will take you more than anything. That's why I say these names, not to be like, oh yeah, well, you know,
Oh
like
no, yeah, no, of
you
course.
know, like I ain't
Of
trying to
course.
do all that, but just more so like just to give you some perspective, like, hey man, you got that weird quirky friend that's doing this one thing. It might not even be music related. He might just be like, he's always on his laptop all the time, and you know, mess around 10 years later, he's running some sort of software company. Like, oh, it
Absolutely.
connects. It connects.
Man,
Like,
appreciate people doing their thing
yeah,
and just
people were
try to
just doing
keep
their
in
thing.
mind, and you do your thing
Yeah.
and know that there are no throwaway people.
Yeah, there no,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
And
the
it's just like most of the time, like yeah, if you were doing like Craze was all he loved DJing, that was his thing. He was always doing that. Like Cool One since high school, like he was always collect. Like I thought I bought records, he bought records on a whole other level. And then, and I remember talking to him before I left for college. He was just like, he's like, there's no way I'm going to college. And I'm like, really? He's like, nope. He's like, I'm gonna work for myself. He's like, there's no way I can work for somebody. And this guy's like a multimillionaire. So it's funny how people when they plant their fat flag or manifest their destiny, like some people have done it early, some people have done it late, and it doesn't matter when you do it. Just be clear about what you want to be in life, and you'll be surprised on where you want to be. Like I know, I said I've always wanted to DJ, and then like this whole other side of my life that we didn't discuss, like I video edit, and video
oh
editing is
yeah,
something that, like I've always wanted to do. Like um, it just as much as I like DJing, like video editing was one of the things that like I was like when I saw it, I was like, yo, this is so dope to me. From watching, I used to watch that Behind the Music on MTV,
right.
and I used to be like, yo, these stories are so dope. I was like, I want to do this, and then fast forward, I ended up at Clark Atlanta, and I learned the major, I learned how to kind of do to work in this industry, and then I take an internship in New York in 1998. I'm another name drop or whatever, but I was a Beat Minders intern, so I was Evil D's
Ooh,
intern,
yeah,
and
I remember. Yeah, I saw that in the interview that you mentioned Evil D. I
yeah,
wasn't on
yeah, I
there
was his
too long ago.
intern for summer of '98. I was his intern, so I would help prep the studio, working with Sin and him, and then Butter L was the other DJ that was there, and I forgot some of the other people, but it was Pseudo Online Networks. 88 Hip Hop was the channel I used to, and then somebody was there editing, like like after we did the show, there were other channels there, and there was a guy there editing, and I'm like, yo, what is this? And he's like, oh, I'm editing. It's just like I was like, what does this mean? He's like, oh yeah, I'm making TV shows or whatever or promos. I'm like, yo,
Man,
and like I was like, yo, this looks fun, and yeah. So I went back to school. I was like, yo, what is this? The software that he was on. And he was like, oh yeah, da da da. And shout out to Tim Latner's at Clark Atlanta. And he was like, oh yeah, we got the gear right here, and boom, like learned that. And then the rest is history. Been at Turner, for 20 plus years, working on Inside the NBA on TNT for, I don't know, for a
doing
long time.
Emmy award winning folks. Let's give the whole bouquet of flowers.
Yeah,
I
man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, man. It was a blessing. Like, but
absolutely.
but really more so, I'm saying this because I mean, this is really more so for young people, not even just young people, for people in general, man.
Oh,
Like when you see it, like sometimes it's for you. You know what I'm saying? It's for you to like engage with it, and because sometimes that's what you want to be. Like I've heard people be like, I heard people say like, oh yeah, like I'm really fascinated by medicine and this that, and the other. And I'm like, well, if that's what you want to do it, because
man,
it's calling you. It's calling you. Like
absolutely.
yeah, it's calling you. Like you just got to step into it and be cool with that. But it's don't let the fear
Mm-mm.
take you, because if it's calling you, it's gonna make itself plain. It's just gonna be it's gonna make sense once you get into it because it's calling you. And so like when I started to edit, like I sucked at school. Like I wasn't a I in college. Oh my god, I felt like I was burning money, man. Like because I was a computer science major the first 2 years. I just felt like I was burning money. It's like,
Really?
and I was just like, what am I doing here? And then I almost quit. And some life stuff happened. Like I lost my grandmother and got battled depression. And I'm just like, what is going on right now? And I remember I remember that thing that I was lightly exposed to when I was in high school, a TV broadcast production class, and I took a photography class, and then trying to be like, I'm gonna go to college and become a doctor, or I'm gonna become I'm a computer science major, I make a lot of money. It's like kind of did that thing to myself, and then I was just like, nah, nah, nah. Like when I started like two failing semesters, I was like, you know what, I gotta pick something that I like, or I'm gonna hate myself after I finish paying all this money. And so I switched over to that, and then it's never looked back.
That is wisdom, and it's
Yeah,
wisdom that you picked up way younger than me. Full disclosure, I started out as a computer science major
right.
back in '88, uh, and I was on the train tracks that were laid out. I mean, when you got out of high school, you went to college, or you went into the military, or you just were part of the dregs of society.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
the
wanted to make video games. That was my whole thing. Was I wanted to go to computer science, and then I wanted to go to wherever you had to go to make video games. So I always wanted to play. That was always my thing. So I was just like, well, TV allows me to play, but still work hard. And
But you had an idea that was a guiding light for you. I had internships. I was very fortunate that Tuskegee Institute was just changing over to Tuskegee University at the time, and they had several programs that made it possible for me to work in technology. I didn't have to pick up trash and mix mortar in the summertime. That is character building, but I know it's also like backbreaking, and you'll pour out about a half a gallon of sweat a day and
right,
stuff. But it was fortunate that I got to be in careers and learn how to work in offices around people that really, cared about me as a holistic person and knew that I didn't know things. But I got into computers. I thought I wanted to do. I was going to be an environmental research scientist because it had a lot of syllables and it sounded cool. And I was
mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I really like inside more than I like outside. And I
Right.
stumbled onto it just doing internships and saying, like, wait a minute, if you work with computers, there'll always be air conditioning.
There you
And
go.
Alabama summer, it was that simple. So I
Yeah.
started down the path of computer science, but there was never a language that like inspired me like I did the Fortran, COBOL, all kinds of procedural languages that just didn't speak. And I was
Right.
like, you
Right.
know what? Because I'm not thinking in terms of how folks are using this thing. I'm just thinking in terms of the science, science, science. And I was just about to leave it. And then Star Trek The Next Generation comes out, and LeVar Burton, Jordan LaForge put that air filter on his face. And I say, like, yep, I'm gonna be a black engineer. And I stayed in there for 3 years. I went to co-op for National Security Agency for 2 terms, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and Desert Storm.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, I said, like, wow, you know what? I'm in here, I'm making a difference, and it's still no. So a lot of what I did felt like what society was supposed to be having me do, but it wasn't me. Funny thing was when I first did we do a battery of tests at Alabama to determine, help those undecideds decide on what a
Right.
major might be. My battery of tests kept saying something in the creative side.
Uh huh.
And I kept saying, no, I'm an engineer. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Oh,
And I'm
so
sitting up there,
you push against what you were
I
hearing.
pushed against what everything was calling me to do, even if it wasn't specifically saying something.
Right.
And the thing ultimately that I used to and still do live in and steep in is Saturday mornings. So it's so apropos that I always paid attention to when you said you did the video editing because I mean I took the step. and getting something episodic going since 2008.
Uh-huh.
And there's old stuff on YouTube of my talk shows. This is the first time that I've been on air talent. I've always been a producer, but I've always like not really dared to lean into that side because I wanted to Io Takamoto, uh, uh, Hanna Barbera, Ruby Spears. I wanted to be them, and so I'm
Like, and
like
you talk about animation?
animation,
Oh,
seeing
okay.
Marty Croft, the live action stuff,
Uh,
everything that makes Saturday mornings, big bowl of cereal in front of a big screen TV with
right.
little
Yeah.
at it, and
Yeah,
I'm
that was one of my dreams was that too. Like I wanted to go to like after I got into editing as well, I wanted to I actually kind of had it lined up a little bit to go to UCLA to go to film school. I was gonna go, and then some life stuff happened, so I that changed.
well,
So,
if
but
you want to play in the sandbox with me, yeah, we need to. I'm gonna. We'll talk off there because
oh no, the animation part that part of me has like that's completely gone away
yeah,
now.
no,
Like
no. This is I do live action and stuff. I mean, it's something that is, and it's something that if it's something you're interested in, it's what I'm intending to do. It's something that you learned well earlier in life that I've just picked up and really started to step into,
oh,
in
okay, okay,
in
yeah,
recent
yeah.
years and stuff. But I just applaud it because I mean it's something I should have been doing, and the old saying, 20 years ago, you wish you'd have started today, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but there's a lot of adages about life that you like. There's like never put should or would or could on your life because
Oh,
that'll that'll always kick your ass. There's that. There's also you know, starting now is just as fun. It's fine. It's never too late to start something
absolutely,
new. So there's
absolutely,
a lot of those adages. So yeah, man, like and like and then obviously the my favorite one that I've kind of been living by now is like comparison is the thief of joy. So like
right.
don't ever like be like, oh man, you see what he doing? Oh man, I should be doing that. Like man, fuck all that, man. Like
If you
like
do
like
like
your what God has for you is what God has for you. Like
absolutely,
you don't be counting everybody else's eggs, man. So
that's what I've decided to do, and I'm like, okay, I'm not. It's the same thing that I would look for in artists when me and my brother did the. We had a recording studio over here for years, and we've since moved it to Lithia Springs. But the thing about artists that would be, I can't put out a record because I don't have a studio. And we'd be like, wait a minute. So these kids never
yeah.
played football without a football. Like if you don't play
Yeah,
football,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the the yeah, the artist side of thing. When I hear that, that's I mean, it's a want-to thing.
it's a
Unfortunately, I hate when
want to.
people say stuff like that and they cap themselves. And we all have there's reasons why we all do that. Like it's
That's right.
fear. Some of it is just like, or you just can't see it or whatever. But yeah, and it's unfortunately people cap themselves, and that's it's hard to be. I mean, it's not hard, but it's like want to is the hardest thing. It seems like in society to get to rev up in somebody.
That's
They'll want to. Like some people are good, but they're just not good enough. Like like I watch a lot of sports, and you're like, man, how do you get to the NBA? But then you get on the court and you don't play with any juice. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, like you're just good enough, but you're like it's either that's your limit or you just don't know how to get to that next level. And that's like all of us in life is some. You're not saying it's a bad thing or good thing. It's just sometimes it's just trying to figure out how to get to that next level is the challenge of life. Like yeah, that's the only thing. That's being a little bit nerdy or a little bit metaphysical about it. It's just trying to figure out how to get to that next level. What is the thing you have to do to overcome that hurdle to get to that next spot, the next thing or the next level? So,
balancing that what you got to do with what you want to do and being stubborn on that want to do. It sounds like that's like a recurrent theme, that you come across in your life, like whether you're doing it or whether somebody around, like your friend with the champion DJ and stuff there, living the life of a millionaire. Somebody would have said, "Hey, you skipping school, you're going nowhere."
Right,
But
right,
those same things were told to, Kevin Hart, I'm sure.
right.
The class clowns that become comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me, I lean on Mike Tyson's story. Not only like I think Customato when they did the movie with Michael Jai White and the guy playing Customato, he had a line in there said, "Looks like school is getting in the way of a promising boxing career."
Mm.
And the audacity to say such a thing. Mike
Right,
Tyson's 14 years old and stuff like that. You saying he needs to drop out of school?
right.
Right. But we never see that Mike Tyson. And it's even more unsure because they have like documentary footage of him like with amateur fights. He's out there like bawling, like he's in tears, his stomach is knotted up. And you go,
Mm.
wait a minute. The dude that's ending fights in 90 seconds
Right,
was scared. Yeah.
right.
Muhammad
Yeah, but
Ali,
yeah, but he had a like a support system,
he has that's true. And I mean
and
I'm
that's
sure his
huge. Like
dad does.
having custom model, like, and I say that for more, uh, like I say that only because of a lot of, I guess more black, a lot of my black friends, like they don't have like guy friends, they
Right,
don't have fathers,
right.
and and I always wonder. That's always a discussion I have with a lot of people. I grew up fatherless as well. I always wonder, you know, like if you have a father, like how much of a battery does your pops put in your back, or having that problem, not just a father, but somebody that puts that support, like and pushes you, and obviously you got to eventually push yourself, but
You do.
sometimes I always wonder, like during those formative years, like somebody that's just there, like, hey man, you can do it. Eventually, you got to figure out how to do that for yourself, but I think that's what Mike Tyson eventually ended up learning. Unfortunately,
Right.
but like he ended up learning that he had to start learning how to rely on himself and God. But when you're young, you need somebody to teach you that. Like, hey, I got your back. I'm gonna be your training wheels for a little while, but
Yeah,
you're gonna have to learn how to move in this life
indeed.
on
I
your
mean,
own.
I think that his story would have turned out a bit better if, like, he had a Customato or several of them that could have followed him through life. But I think that it's something courageous of him stepping out of a traditional model of, young man into manhood and doing something extraordinary, as a result of it. Um, so
You think?
that
I think
part
his
of,
you don't
yeah,
You think his story turned out to be bad? I mean, like, I think his story played out the way it had to play out. Like, I think he had to go through whatever he went through. Unfortunately, going to prison was like nobody wants to go to prison, but um, and I'm not saying it jokingly either. I'm just like, but
yeah,
like
no, no,
I think everyone's like that's everyone's story is their story. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. Well, that's
yeah.
the weird thing about fate. No matter if we're looking back on it, everything happened just as it was supposed to happen. And so then him
Oh,
going at it the way that he went at it, I can't see his life unfolding any other way because
right,
that's how his life unfolded.
right.
The fact that he, in whatever way he lived it, he lived his life.
Yeah,
I think that there's a saying, what, all of us are gonna die, but some of us are gonna forget to live.
right.
I'm paraphrasing there,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally,
yeah,
totally.
yeah, but that part right there is kind of what I was drawing on. But yeah, I don't know that I think that of course what he's done, with his life and others who have done outside of the beaten path is extraordinary.
Right.
It's just that, a lot of times you think, well, that's not for me. And hopefully what you're drawing from that is, well, why isn't it for you? At the point where like what was that other? It was on Amazon. I think it's called One Night in Miami.
Oh yeah, yeah. The whole
Jim
thing with it
Brown
was
and
like,
yeah, you
was it
come to
Muhammad
find
Ali,
out
Jim Brown, and
that's
like,
right.
yeah,
Sam Cooke and gosh, there was one other Malcolm X. They all get together in a room, and you come to find out over the course of the conversation that Muhammad Ali didn't think he was gonna beat Sonny Liston.
right.
and you going like, what? Like, like that was one of the defining like moments in like boxing history.
Mm-hmm.
And he, the Louisville Lip, he was talking that talk, but he wasn't sure he could walk the walk. And at
Right.
the time, the boxing press at large didn't think he could either. They were like, this guy Sonny Liston's going to close his mouth. Well, greatness, why isn't it for you? You know, why wouldn't you step into it? Takes the
Yeah,
type
you
of
just got to face the fear. Most of the time, is just he faced that fear, and I'm pretty sure Sonny Liston, if they ever interviewed him, I probably was probably just as scared. And it's just who can overcome that. And then,
man. This is you see, you're doing good at this because you're leading right into my next topic here. I tell you, and you probably already picked up on it, my admiration of you. I admire you. I see you as a hero. So now, speaking on the things that is required of a hero, it is really just the one thing. You know, you act, you step up. Heroes step up no matter what they're facing, no matter who's around. Is there a support person around or system? Is somebody there who got my back? Hey, if it's go time, it's go time. And heroes step up, likely in the face of fear and trepidation.
right.
So then I just want to briefly, I think you kind of covered it. You talked about your beginnings, but like speaking specifically and maybe speaking wisdom to, the listeners or maybe even to your younger self. Think about, um, it's a kind of a three-parter here. I want to get your impressions of how you stepped up on day one, then on day 1001, that's about 3 years in, and kind of how you keep facing down, the inner demons today. Because I think a lot of what we have to fight isn't outside of us. It's what, inside of us, that imposter syndrome, those fears that keep us from getting started, that rob us of years in our life. But
Uh,
talk about your hero's journey, like on day one, how'd you beat back the fears and says, I'm gonna do this? And then how
um,
did that get better in, as you went along?
um, yeah, obviously a lot of prayer. I guess that's the best way I can say it. A lot of prayer, a lot of like trying to keep things in perspective, keeping good people around me. And then like mop up, what me becoming. I had a why. I guess that's the. I had a reason why. And I think that's what really powered me more than anything. And I've heard like a lot of like successful people say, if you don't have a why, it's always hard to be successful in life. If the goal is just to be rich, sometimes it's just not enough.
Right.
And um, like, but before I think a year after I graduated college, like in 2000, my mother got sick. She had lupus. She got
Mm,
really, really sick with lupus, and I. That's why I was saying I was going to go to grad school, film school. So, like I'm just getting out of college. I'm just like, da, 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 I don't know, like, oh, shoot, mom is sick. She ran a business for all these years. She was a beautician. Um, so, she doing perms and all kind of stuff and raising two boys by herself and with my grandmother's help. But she got sick and she had to close the business. And, when you have your own business, there's a lot of things you just don't have, unless you really lined it up. But she didn't, money wasn't a lot of money. She had a home anyhow. I just was like, oh shit, I can't leave mom hanging. So I was just like, when she said she got sick, I was like, mom, I got you. And I don't know I don't know how I was gonna do it. I just said, I got you.
there you go.
And that was it. And so pretty much fresh out of college, I was just taking care of my mom, like wherever I can. So that's why I um for a while there, like I was mad because like even in college I was pretty serious just because I was afraid to fail. But even like in my when everybody was being crazy in their 20s and partying and doing, I was always like just locked in, always like, hey, yeah, I'm either gonna be practicing, I'm gonna be at this spot. Like all my entertainment was always like, you know, I'm either doing a party or I'm practicing or I'm working or, and then I'll have a little bit of fun, but it was usually always kind of structured like around those things because like I didn't want to get in the spot, situations where one, I'm spending too much money or get caught up in something I didn't really want to get caught up in. And so, uh, yeah, that was really kind of what made me stay focused through, I guess the portions of my life where I think I'm not sure how I would have acted then, but I know that definitely kept me focused and like I knew like there was no turning back because I'm like, hey, it's not just me. I'm doing this for them. I gotta make sure I bring in enough money so I can, take care of mom and me, and then whoever else is around me, I can take care of them as well. And that was always been my that's always been my kind of the battery that got put in my back was like I gotta make sure my mom's good.
Huh.
So yeah, that's always been my. I don't talk about it much, but that's always been like that's my why. Like why I work my tail off all the time, and like, I don't really go out a lot. I do what I gotta do, and I'll be gone, and I don't go out. I just don't. I just a lot just try to stay locked in on the things that I want to do, the things that keep me happy and comfortable and whatever. But um, yeah, just trying to take care of my mother, make sure she's good, take care of the fam. That's good, and that's it, man. Hope
Man,
that answered your question, but that's kind of
it did. I
yeah,
pulled the themes right out of it, and I don't know that it could have been written better. It seems like your first words out of your mouth was like, you know what, stay in prayer. It was like, you know what, I think if I could pull the themes, you like you praying. So I would say know your God is one, and then know your why. That permeated your
pretty
whole
much, yeah,
story,
man. Yeah,
and
that's it.
then stay focused. Like those three things, I think if you probably, it sounds like you were always doing it. So I don't know that you would have to tell a young Yogi that, but I would say that if there is a listener who is trying to figure it out, there's some good jewels right there. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Know your God, your power, your battery, so to speak. Like if
yeah,
ain't nobody putting it, find the battery
yeah.
and
Find the battery.
throw it in your back, and then know your why. What do you need the power for?
Yeah,
And then stay focused to be like, where am I going with this?
yeah.
I think okay. So I mean, I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but that's what
No,
I
that's. I mean, it's pretty much the gist of what I
were.
mean. And just like the only other like if there were regrets or whatever. I mean, but we're all fearful, so like I don't want to be too hard on myself and say like I just wish I wasn't so scared, all the time. I mean, we're all fearful. There's always a fear. It's
Absolutely.
funny because I've asked people who are successful, way more successful than I am, or have gotten further in certain things that I've gotten to, and I've always asked like, hey, like when you got on stage before this big show, like, and you're about to perform 50,000 people. Were you scared? And usually, every time I've asked anyone that, they're like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" I'm like, "Really? Like you've done
Absolutely.
this like 20,000 times?" And they're like, "I'm scared every time." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" This is more so leaning towards performance. He was like
That's right.
that the fear of performance, and he was that one person I spoke to was like, he's like, if when this one song drops, once I know I get through this, I know I'm good. But he's like, but it's the fear of the anticipation. Obviously, you have that. That there's always that when you're dealing with music and DJing or whatever. There's always that small fear of like everything going wrong. But I've
Definitely.
I've heard multiple people say like I've heard this. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was like this one drummer from this huge band and talked to. I've heard Jermaine Dupri say it, and he was just like, yeah, like when Jermaine Dupri used to play in Vegas, I've heard an interview of him talking about it, about like, yeah, like DJ equipment, just could just computer could crash, needle skip, whatever, while you're trying to do like some sort of transition. I've heard multiple DJs talk about that, and it's just facing the fear. But the fear is good because like the fear drives you. But the part that I'm always, I guess, when I talk about with myself is, um, the fear drives you, but don't let it suppress you. Let the fear drive you more than anything. Like, you got to just face it, and that's kind of the one thing that, like, I try to push myself more than anything still this day is like, don't hide from the fear. Just like try to face it as much as I can. Obviously, it's easy to say, but like as much as I can, I'm like, just try to face it. Just try to face it. Like it's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think. And usually when you face it, the good stuff is on the other side. As you know, greeting card as it sounds, but it's true.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that's real conversation. That's there's a wisdom in that.
yeah.
That a lot of times the things that you fear, especially about going after, what you want to go after in life, is
Hmm.
if you get to the end of life and you never even try.
Yeah, you never even tried it.
So
That's
then you
and
be
that'll piss you off more than anything because
exactly.
yeah, when you don't try it and you're like, well, shoot, man, like when I was, blah blah blah, and then, we all have a few of those here and there. Like, you saw that girl in the club and she looked at you, and you're like, fuck, man, she was looking at me
Absolutely.
the whole fucking time. I should have just walked
Absolutely.
over to her.
Dude, the first lesson in courage that every kid, especially I speak to little boys because I know something about that. Every little boy, you need to have a fourth grade dance, and you need
Yeah,
to walk across that floor into that den of snickling little girls, and
yep,
you need to ask the one girl to dance.
yep. The
And
one girl that you like,
that's
just
right.
face it. Who cares,
Yeah,
man? Like,
and not the second choice, not the safe choice,
no, the
the
one
one
that
that
you
you
like.
really want to dance with,
Yeah,
knowing that ain't
yeah,
gonna be no because you turn around and ask the next one, she gonna be like, "How come you asked me second?" So
yeah. How
you
can you
have
ask me?
to
Say
risk it,
exactly. Right.
and you have to risk it because the girls aren't gonna sit alone. They're gonna be sitting in groups. So
Right.
that's a lioness's den. You
Mm-hmm.
go ask, and any number of answers can happen, and they're instructive to the rest of your life. She can
Right.
say feet hurt, and then you can look back 30 seconds later, and she doing the running man with somebody else.
Right.
That means no wasn't no to everybody; it was no to you, and that's one of
Yeah.
the toughest grown-up lessons in the world. But what did no do? Nothing. It just
Nothing.
says that ain't my dance partner. I
Mm-hmm.
might have to go to another dance, but the only way I get on this floor with somebody else is to go ask somebody else.
Somebody
That's
up.
the first lesson in courage. So you do it scared, and you get it done.
Been
It's
done.
sweet on the other side because you're dancing, but I say all that with a strong empathy of being that scared kid at 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it's got to be done. At that same dance, I'm hoping there are adults around that refuse to let the boys dance with the boys. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Get
a
out
whole
there
other.
and ask.
That's a whole other discussion.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing that, Yogi.
Yeah, it's a whole other discussion.
I would say, in this day and age, unless that's what you want to do, I'll cover the base there. But in so much as the fear, that would keep you from asking anybody, whoever your partner is, hey,
Mm-hmm.
get out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm scared. I know, me too. Get
Right.
out, like go. If you're in a something, but that informs later on when you're the fireman, and it's like I have to charge up this burning staircase to save two children.
Right.
It was like, well, gosh, you might die, right? But those kids will, and I can't live with that. It's like so. Your, I would fear the regret more so than me. Like I gotta. So I think that is instructive in what it takes to be a hero. Step to it, step through it. That's
Yeah.
that that's the
Yeah.
hero
Yeah.
thing.
You gotta try to face as much as you can, man. Like, don't run from it. And it's stuff. I
Absolutely.
mean, if you it's stuff that we're all still not perfect with.
No.
I'm not gonna sit here and try to act like I'm some sort of perfect person or whatever. But like, yeah, like there's just stuff that
Well, we
as much
couldn't
as you
hear the
can, try to
lesson.
face stuff, man. Huh? What's
Well,
that?
we couldn't hear the lesson from you if you were perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then I would be like,
Yeah.
oh, Yogi's always been such and such.
Nah, man. Nah. I mean, it's funny because I get that a lot from a lot of people because I come across as a nice person or whatever, and
Oh,
I try to be nice for the most part, like because it gets you further than being a mean person. But like, um, at least that's what I've noticed. Like, just be cool, and I noticed. But like, Yeah, it just gets you further. Being a nice person. I kind of missed my thought there, but yeah, just being a nice person helps, man. It helps.
Yeah.
But but don't be a sucker.
Don't
Don't
be a
be
right.
yeah, be a nice person, but don't be anyone's sucker. I guess that's the I lost my train of thought there a little bit, but of all the lesson for that, be a nice person, but don't be no one's sucker, man. But be kind. Like a lot of good things happen when you're kind. Like I've always, and that's how I've gotten as far as I have. Is like because people usually always like, oh, he's a good dude, like he's kind, he's and it's usually I could at least get in the door.
Right. To say, I
Yeah,
mean, I think what is that? The honey, more flies with honey,
yeah, then
than
shit.
with vinegar. Well, no, that's what we would always throw in there and stuff, just to
Oh,
be
my
smart
bad.
asses. No, it would be with
Well,
smart
actually,
asses
I mean,
like
shit does attract flies too, but
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You get more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And then we wait for the moment where we're supposed to say, "Oh, I get it." And we say, "Why don't you just use shit?" And that's where you get smacked upside the head, like you fucking with my lesson. You know what I'm saying? But that
I mean, but this in this day and age too, it also seems like shit does get you kind of far as well. So
hey, I mean, we have a bunch of witticisms that we call amendments. Me and a couple of the fellas and stuff. And one of them is you can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Just don't go
yeah,
ape. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's gonna
yeah,
taste a little funny, but yeah,
yeah,
that's it. But I think you're right. Kindness is like one of those things that like one of my favorite sayings in pretty much ever. Guy named Henry James. I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a police lineup and stuff. But his saying, three things in human life are important. The first is to be kind, the second is to be kind, and the third is to be kind.
right,
And that's a guiding principle.
yeah,
Like, there's never, I don't know anybody, unless maybe it's a toxic relationship where you say you're too nice. It's like, come on, man.
yeah, yeah.
Kindness
I
is
used to get a
always
lot of that. I guess that was the kind of the gist of where I was trying to get at. I used to get
don't
that.
be
I
a
get that a
sucker
lot.
though.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
too nice, and I'm like, hmm. And I'm like, all right. But like as an adult now, I've finally learned. I was like, you know what? You you said that to me.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
too.
think that the thing is that that kindness has to extend to yourself as well. I
Right,
think that's
right.
probably the balance where you're saying, like in your words, don't be a sucker, being
Yeah,
kind to yourself.
yeah.
And
Be
I
kind.
think,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah, yeah.
think that
Give yourself grace. That is the thing. Yeah, it's the new thing that
now I
everybody
know
always says. Now, give yourself grace, and I actually like that. I like it a lot. Well, give yourself grace.
now I know in my research that like your mom, is a hero to you, as is mine, as was mine. Uh, and I mean, I shared one of my sayings. That's a guidance saying, but I remember when she was here, she used to break down a piece of a biblical verse. I thought it was the whole verse. I actually went and looked for it, thanks to Google, and found that it was the first portion of Psalm 46:10. International Version just says, "Be still and know that I am God." And she would find a Bible's worth of wisdom in that verse. Like she would just break it down. To be still and know that I'm God, she'd get blessed assurance from that. She'd chop off
uh,
the God part and say, "Be still and know that I am," as
hmm
in Moses times, like the great I am, like know your God, like we
Yeah.
talked about, a while ago and stuff. Then be
Right.
still and know. Just chill and know
Right.
that everything that you need to know is of and from him. Stop your worrying.
Right.
Then be still. Don't be too anxious, too angry, too anything. You take a breath, take a beat, and then move on. And then finally, some things are just to be withstood and endured. So just be.
Right.
Be at peace. Just be. Just exist. And that's enough sometimes.
Right.
Now that's the wisdom that I got and that I kind of repeat more that my mom isn't around here physically to
Yeah.
repeat for me. I wonder, do you have like, and it don't have to be from the Bible, it could be the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, some bars you heard Rakim spit. Do you have some kind of like anything
No,
that's
no, I don't have any like. I mean, it's always I always try to take lessons from I like watching a lot of movies and stuff like that, and all kind of stuff. I'm usually uh just always like just taking the lessons of just facing. I like those stories about people facing their fears, and
Right.
and so like I like so obviously like a lot of superhero stories, but usually a lot of superhero stories are always about that kind of stuff, about facing your fears, and it's okay. It's okay to be flawed. It's okay, like, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm always reminding myself, like, because I was always hard on myself. It's like, especially, just the way I grew up. I just always felt like I had to be perfect and all this kind of stuff, and so like just had to start reminding myself. That's why you were talking about the grace thing. I was just like, as I got older, I had to start reminding myself it's okay to make mistakes. I'm cool. Like, it's just,
Absolutely.
just move forward, just keep moving, just keep moving forward. Like when I struggled a lot through college and stuff, my mom never gave me a specific Bible verse, but it's funny that your mom gave you 46:10 of Psalms. My
Yeah.
mom would always just be like, she's like, grab your Bible and just read Psalms. And she would just said, she's like, just
Mm.
she would always tell me, like, you having any problems? I'm like, yeah. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, whatever the issue was. And she was like, just open up Psalms and just start reading it. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, just read it. Just start reading, because it has so many little positive little things about life, like
Exactly.
all. And I can't remember. I don't remember any of them until I hear it. I was like, oh yeah, like the one you just said. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I've heard that before. Like, I couldn't tell you the number. I'm always impressed by the people that can tell you the number, the chapter, the verse. But like when I hear them, I'm like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know
That's
that one.
about
Yes,
where I am with it. I
yeah.
know the text because I was really fortunate the way
Excuse me.
that that the Bible comes to me through people.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, like I didn't grow up in a family that insisted I go to church. You know, my dad wasn't a churchgoer. My mom was in the family that she was from, but once she got with my dad, Sundays was for pancakes and Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom. We didn't have to go to church. But one of
Uh-huh.
the coolest people I knew, my grandfather, my mom's dad, went to church every time the doors was open. He was in every auxiliary, and he was a cool cat. I'm
Yeah,
like, I want some of what he got. So I just started following him around, and so he is my view into whatever biblical knowledge it is. What does that guy say about it? And so
yeah. I mean,
that's why
yeah.
he lived it, and so that's why I came into that knowledge. I went to, when I went to college, I was with a non-denominational church, and they got me the word. So it's imbued. I don't know the numbers. I don't know the chapters
Right, right.
there, but like I'm with you. It's infused
Yeah,
the
it's
way it
important. Like
is.
it's very important. And I know I have some friends who, like, they still get caught up on the I guess the ills of some whatever issues that they've had with church. And
Yeah,
I'm like, and I always kind of remind people, I'm like, hey man, if the church was full of perfect people, there would be no need for church. So like,
absolutely.
it's like, so we all got problems going up in there. Like we all got our issues, man. And some of it, like you got, you're like, oh, but I'm like, that's the point. That's why this person's here. Like he might,
Absolutely.
he or she might, like a lot of sex, or like this person might be here because, like they're low key a thief or whatever. Like, whatever. Like they're here trying to work these things out as just as much as, you're a person that very judgmental. You're probably here. That's why you're here at church or whatever.
Oh
Whatever
goodness, yes.
or you're a very fearful person. Like that's why you go to church. Like, because when you read the Bible and you read all these good books, like that's literally what all those people in those stories are that's what they're dealing with. Like all
Yeah,
the stories that you watch, all the good ones are about people facing their fears, or people
that's right.
overcoming something, or people trying to accomplish something. Like that's what life is. It's just us trying to accomplish and overcome our fears, and
Absolutely.
hopefully leave something for our loved ones, and lift up our loved ones and all that kind of stuff, and be fruitful and multiply, like all that kind of stuff. Like that's that's what the greatest stories. about life are about. And so like, and you go to church and literally you're talking about some of the greatest stories ever told by man or by God or inspired by God or whatever. Like,
Fantastic.
yeah, this is why it resonates with people. This is why, you know, I always hope that the people who always get like annoyed by church or any sort of form of whatever organized religion or Christianity, whatever the thing is, it's just
That's
like,
right.
no, it's actually good. You're like, it's just bad in it. You can find bad in anything, but there's a lot of good in it too. Like wherever you choose to find it, but find something that kind of lifts your spirit, man. Like because
Absolutely.
like just talking to your homeboy or talking to your homegirl, it's not it. Sometimes you need to kind of seek a higher power, man. Straight up.
Absolutely. Or
Yeah,
sometimes you, even if you're not seeking, you'll run across something where the only answer is you shrugging your shoulders and you say,
yeah,
I don't know. You
yeah.
know,
I mean, and I mean, as much as they like to say, like, I mean, he is, even if you're not looking for him, he's looking, like that higher power is still watching you. But it's
that's
like,
right.
if you seek it, things are a little bit more clearer. If you try to seek that power and tap into that power, things make a little bit more sense. Like it's not just because not everything in life is happenstance. A lot of things happen for a reason. So
That's right.
yeah,
I think too that it kind of weaves in a kindness and inclusivity, a little bit of hope, um, and a need to move on even if you don't have hope. All of that stuff kind of works in to I want to say what you would call a church, although a church is more about the people, more about you being the temple than I would say a physical building. But I think there's a more inclusiveness in like us understanding each other. Like, you know what? I know you're going through it.
you're going
I
through
know
it. Yeah,
you're
yeah,
going through
yeah.
this.
And we
And
all
matter
go
of
through it,
fact,
rich or poor. And we all go kind of.
that's right.
Yeah, everybody is going through something in life. Like
You might not even have the answer, and I don't have it either. We both sitting up
yeah,
here with a big question with no answer. Hey man, we're gonna keep it moving though. It's like I don't know, but I know that we just gotta keep going.
right.
And sometimes that's a lot of times actually that's enough
Yeah, that's
right
enough.
there.
Yeah.
Now we are